Is great to be here with our friends in room 24 and 25. Great to be with our colleagues and great to be with all of you who are following online. This is our last Talmud class of the year, so I wanted to frame it by saying the following. Wanted to pick a topic that kind of connects with, unifies, builds on the content that we had studied throughout the year. So remember back in September, the first classes we did were about talking about Israel with our kids and what's the challenge that Zionism had become a fraught term. When I grew up, Zionism was an easy term to love. For our kids going to college campuses, I'm a proud Zionist is a very fraught term. When I was in college in 1980, 79 to 83, there were Jewish kids who had an Israeli flag hanging outside their window or outside their door. That would not happen today. Um, and we started the year with the Wellesley newspaper editorial that was both in favor of the mapping project and, from sea to shining sea, Palestine will soon be free. And this was signed by Wellesley, and realizing that that's 5 miles from our shul. Oh my God, oh my God. We talked about kids and our kids in Israel and our own attitudes towards Israel. And then, of course, as the spring came, Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut, preceded by Yom HaShoah, we marked Israel at 75. So, what I wanted to do for our final class is something that brings all this together, which is to talk about the asymmetry of Israeli Jews and American Jews. Um, this is graduation season for our high school students. This is graduation season. Mikey graduated on Thursday. Mazel tov, mazel tov. And, our kids, when they graduate from Newton South and Newton North and the other wonderful schools in our area, they go off to a year abroad, or they go off to some leafy college campus where they get to learn and to think and to read and to explore, etc. And their 18-year-old counterparts go into the army and serve in places like Jenin and Gaza. And the difference between going to Tufts and going to Jenin, the difference actually is literally the case. The difference between going to Columbia JTS and going to Gaza, that is the difference between our children and our Israeli friends' children. And I wanted to think about that. And one song, one text that kind of brought this home was a song called Ein Li Eretz Acheret. It was written in 1982 during the Lebanon War, which, as you know, was kind of Israel's Vietnam. And it says, I have no other home. I have no other land. And we'll read the lyrics and we'll hear it sung by an Israeli. But it's about love of country and the pain of the country, love of country and the anguish of the country, love of country and blood, sweat, and tears, love of country and loss are inextricably interwoven. But in the end, I have no other land. And what was so striking, it's an old song. It was composed, as I say, in 1982. But what made the Jewish world think about it, what made Israel think about it, was that in the wake of Israel's 75th, Israel kind of had a contest and asked Israelis if you had to pick one song that best conveys the Israeli condition, what song would you pick? Israelis opining on Israel picked this song. So it's written in 1982, but it is reconfirmed in 2023 as the song that expresses the Israeli condition. And it's just, I want to study it. We're going to look at the lyrics. We're going to hear it sung. We're going to talk about what it means. We're going to talk about the premise. I have no other country, says the Israeli voice. We do. How do we think about that? And then Elias is also going to teach us a song which is in response, it's in dialogue to this song, which is a much more optimistic song about Israel, but was not selected as the song that best conveys the Israeli condition. So let's thank God for the gift of learning Torah together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivah la'asok b'divrei Torah. V'ha'arev na Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratcha b'finu ובפי עמך בישראל, ונהיה אנחנו וצאצאינו וצאצאי עמך בישראל, Kulani yodei shemecha v'lomdei toratecha lishma. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So I want to start by just, it's always important to have a sacred text, and the sacred text is this song, and the lyrics of the song. And I want to just, I want to read the leitmotif of it, the paragraph that recurs 3 times in this short song, and ask what it conveys. So I'm looking at the lyrics. I have no other country, even if my land is aflame. Right, just right, and that recurs. I have no other country, even if my land is aflame. I have no other country, even if my land is aflame. In other words, it speaks to the fact that the basic stasis of Israel is aflame. The stasis of Israel, Israel's resting face, is aflame. That's what it's saying, right? And then he goes on to say, just a word. The singer is a female. Just a word in Hebrew pierces my veins and my soul. With a painful body, with a hungry heart, here is my home. And that's the end. With a painful body and a hungry heart, here is my home. I was speaking to my sister-in-law, who born and raised in Israel, has raised her 6 kids in Israel, and she said she gets why this song was chosen by Israelis to convey Israel, and she's sad that that's the choice. It's realistic, it makes sense, it's a sensible choice, but it's also kind of sad that your love song on Israel's 75th is, I have no other country, even if my land is aflame. You know, could imagine thinking about that for a marriage, like a song that you would offer your partner on some milestone anniversary. I have no other spouse, even if you are, right? I have no other spouse, even if you are fill in the blank, right? That kind of the ambivalence of it. So, dear colleagues, before we hear it, I'd love your reactions to the song, and the ambivalence and the fraughtness of it.
So, I believe that for you guys born and raised in America, and for me born and raised in South America, it's hard to really get through and really deep thoughts about what the Israelis feel, because we don't live in constant war. We don't experience this reality. So for me, I see the lyrics and I say, wow, this is a lot of pain.
Oh, Elias, you're not on a microphone. Thank you so much, hon.
You would think that after so many Talmud classes, I
Right.
would remember how to use a
What you
microphone.
missed back home was he was born in South America. We're not. We're born here. He's born in South America. Continue.
No, what I'm saying is that it's for me, it's although I have my own different reality than you guys and everybody here, or the majority of people here, it's hard to see this because one thing is to sympathize with somebody, and another thing is to feel exactly what they are feeling, which is impossible for us.
Right.
It doesn't surprise me the lyrics in terms of the song that was chosen. It surprised me the song that we are going to hear, the melody, which is beautiful, but the song is very somber, kind of in a sad way. And, normally we think about Israelis as, no matter what, they are optimistic, they move forward and they go with it, And the tone of the song reflects something like a melancholic tone and very different. So
Right.
Going in terms of why do they choose this one?
Yeah.
But I see actually a fair amount of strength and hopefulness. And this is the context of this. It feels to me is not just, Israel's at war, people are coming from outside and attacking us. This is actually a song that responds to not just social differences, but political differences within Israel, in a sense that even when my country, my leadership is going in a different direction than I want it to go, this is my land. I am a patriot. I am committed, I am connected, and I'm not going to stay. I mean, you said that's the end, here's my home,
Right.
but actually that's not the end. The end, right? It continues. Lo eshtok. I am not going to remain silent. And to me, this is a song that expresses resolve and commitment and patriotism. And it is not the least bit surprising to me that this would have been chosen at a time where it feels like so much is at stake in Israel. I mean, we heard Rachel Korazim come and speak to us. She's out among so many others week after week after week at protests to try to move Israel and the Israeli government towards justice and righteousness and a sense of embodiment of the values of a free nation. And this song speaks to that as well.
Yeah, there is what I hear in your remarks, Michelle, and what I see in the song that connects with our tradition is a prophetic voice, right? This is, Jeremiah speaking truth to power. And you have that as well. I won't be silent because my country has changed her face. I will not give up reminding her and sing in her ears until she opens her eyes. So there's that. So the narrator is in dialogue with the Israel that is, trying to get it to the Israel that should be. There's an aspirational prophetic tone in here as well.
Yeah, but I mean, with all due respect to you guys, and this song was written in 1982, all right? So it's like 40-something years ago. And we are seeing, you guys are trying to see this song with the glasses of the Israeli society today, and perhaps it wasn't meant for that.
I would say Dafka, Israeli society, then it was a song that was meant to meet a moment which was profoundly existential and challenging.
I mean, if you read Danny Gordis's book about Israel, he talks about how during the Lebanon War, Israeli soldiers would be on the front in Lebanon, fighting, doing their duty. When they would come home for their leave, they would protest the war they had just served. And this was the first time this happened in Israel, at least according to Danny Gordis's book, right? Soldiers do their duty, and they listen to the chain of command, and they fight the fight, but they disagree with it morally. They come home, and they protest the very war that they were serving in. But the important point...
You understand that it's a different reality.
No, but here's what you don't
Because today, people are protesting for democracy.
Right, but Elias, here's the main point. Don't miss this. This song, written in '82 with that Lebanon context, has been reaffirmed and reconfirmed in 2023 in the wake of the protests, because Israelis in April of 2023 said, of all the songs in Israel, the one that best takes us in is Ainli Eretz Acheret.
Yes, but that is only because of the reality Israel is living right now.
Correct.
But 3 years ago, perhaps this wasn't the song that will be chosen.
Okay, but So it's, in other words, as you read the lyrics, you have to think about the protests and that are every Saturday night. Mr. Nesson, what are your reflections?
Well, yeah, I was going to mention, my older brother, who in the '80s was commander of a light armored tank division, was in Lebanon 3 times, and we did have many conversations about how he would he would come back and join those protests, which is something that I thought he would never do, but it was really, as we've all stated, it's all because of love of country, and what is the right and moral thing to do. So we're all there.
So we're gonna watch the song now. Being performed, but I'd like to offer this lens as a question, right? Which is, what does the reality she sings about, and that you see pictures of, blood, sweat, and tears, what claim does it make on us? We who love Israel but live in leafy Newton, what claim does this make on us? And I just felt this so deeply and personally in the last Hamas-Gaza war, when I was in Israel in May, and the bombs started falling, and Shira and I got the heck out of Israel, and we came back to Newton, and my family in Israel, including the groom that couldn't get married the day that he was going to get married because Israel was at war, he instead of getting married, he went to his Miluim unit, and he was serving. And just the contrast between my nephew, the groom, who didn't get married, he subsequently got married, they're very happy, but when he didn't get married at that time, and he went to Miluim, and Shira and I were on El Al back to New York, back to Boston, and just this, so I want to ask you about the asymmetry, that all of this intensity, we are spectators of all this intensity. We're not participants of all this intensity. We don't own all this intensity. We care, but we don't own. And how do we process that? Asymmetry. So, Brian Levsky, if you could please run the show, or if Elias Rosenberg could run the show.
said, this is above my pay.
Okay.
ארץ אחרת, גם אם אדמתי בוערת, רק מילה בעברית חודרת אל אורכה, אל נשמתי בגוף כואב, בלב רעב, כאן הוא ביתי. לא אשתוק כי ארצי שינתה את פניה, לא אוותר להזכיר לה ואשיר כאן באוזניה עד שתפקח את עיניה. אחרת עד שתחדש ימיה, עד שתפקח את עיניה. תודה רבה.
So, colleagues, what came up for you when seeing that song performed with the accompanying pictures?
Yeah, Michelle earlier had mentioned that she feels that there is hope in this poem and the text. And listening to it, musically, the time when the singer is singing the ooh part, and the key changes to it's a more hopeful kind of. Even though the film was showing a lot of violence and destruction, there was that musical sense of, until she opens her eyes, that there was that sense of hope in the musical rendition of it. So that was actually quite striking.
Michelle, what came up for you?
I found it really interesting, the recast, because here in the lyrics we have it ending with Hu Beiti. This is my, it's my home.
Right.
And there we ended with the idea of opening until my country will open up her eyes. And I found that sort of cultural shift really, really interesting when you ask the question of what does this mean in 2023 to Israelis.
And what meaning do you make of that difference?
To me, it calls to me of the resolve to try to take what we normally think about in sort of traditional spiritual context as Yerushalayim shel Mata and Yerushalayim shel Mala, like the earthly Jerusalem and the heavenly Jerusalem, and to take the horror of what is going on down here, both internally and externally, and all the burning that we see and all of the devastation, and to try to transform it up into that heavenly Jerusalem that we hope for, that we wish for, those beautiful pictures that they showed of what Israel can be and the beautiful light that it is.
So I just want to, before I turn to you, Les, I want to just share with you, this is sick and weird, but real. What I was thinking about when I was watching this just now is all of the bar mitzvah parties and bat mitzvah parties I've gone to in Newton over the years, where our 13-year-olds show, or their parents have produced a photographic gallery of their life, their first 13 years. And they're on the beach, and they're on Martha's Vineyard, and they're on this vacation, and they're on that vacation, and they're happy here, and they're happy there, and here they are having Shabbos dinner, and here's a Seder, and here's multi-generations. And the ways in which our photo gallery is Disney World, literally Disney World, and their photo gallery is ambulances. And I'm just trying to figure this. Our children's photo gallery is Disney World, happiness, the beach, the cruise, the multi-generational cornucopia of abundance of blessing. And our kids' biggest heartbreak is they didn't get into the first choice college. That literally is true, right? I mean, that our kids' biggest heartbreak is they wanted to get into this college, they only got into that college. That's their biggest heartbreak, okay? And this is a different reality, and I'm trying to figure out, we're all Jews, but oh my God, such a different photo gallery, and how do we process that? Cantor.
Yes.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts? What came up for you
Well,
when you watch this?
I was thinking about exactly what you're bringing into think here about my own experience and my son's experience. All right, he's about to go to New York for college, and that was his first choice. So we didn't suffer with that. We didn't suffer with that. But how different, it's fascinating because in the same way that I wouldn't have chosen this song as the most important Israelis, I don't feel like you feel. Because for me, growing up was so different. And for me, there was another place to go, and that was Israel. Right? I grew up in a country with full of anti-Semitism, and the majority of my friends would say, "We are Zionists, let's go, let's move. When are you moving to Israel? When are you going?" The question was when, not if. All right? When I was 18, at the time, in Argentina,
That was a long time ago, I just want to say.
No. Last year.
Yeah.
When I was 18 in Argentina, the military service was mandatory. All right? It was a country that was in no war, but it was mandatory. And it was famous that a few years before I had my time, 82 exactly, same year, funny enough, Argentina went into war with England for the Falkland Islands, and it's famous that the Jewish kids who were defending Argentina were sent to the front to be killed first. I don't make it up, just Google it after Shabbat, all right? Just Google after Shabbat, and there are books written about that. And then for the next 5 or 6 years, I was remembering growing up and talking to my brother and to my parents, what if I'm there? What if it happens to me? And then, it was kind of a lottery, so we ended up not doing it. But the year after, it was abolished because one, colonel or captain of the army killed a soldier just because he didn't like him, and he was abolished. But
The draft was abolished.
right. Anyways, so that was my reality. For me, 18 was going to the army, all right? And at the time, for me, it was Yeshli Eretz Acheret, which is, I have another place to go, that is Israel.
Right.
And it's so different from Mikey, because Mikey, why would he move to Israel? Although he's super Jewish, but it's not in his radar.
Right. Thank you for all that, Eli. So here's the pivot, which is this difference of the different photo galleries and the different experiences. And Mikey, why would he go there? He's going to Columbia. Why does he need Israel? He's got JTS. He's got Columbia. He's got New York, and they don't have that optionality. They have Jenin and Gaza until they're out of the army. What claim does that difference make on us? Like, what do we do in response to the reality of this difference? This is a question I have wrestled with all my life. It's particularly a question, that I felt I still have. I need a good therapist to process getting on that airplane in the Gaza war, with the bombs falling and my nephew going off to the Miluim and Shira and I coming to Newton. And I don't know. I don't actually have an answer for that question, but I feel like it's a question that many of us share.
So to me, this is it's really complex because everything that you say is true about our kids, and yet there are kids from Temple Emmanuel who have actually gone and signed up and joined the Israel Defense Forces. Those who lived here, who have made Aliyah, who now serve in Miluim, who have made the choice to join the nation, and any of our children can do that at any point in time. And so it's not, it's a little more complex than just wear leafy green and they are serving in the army, because the truth is that for all of us here in Israel, like Elias so beautifully spoke to, like, we do have another state. That state actually is Israel, and we don't have another Israel. And Israel is so powerful and so important for us as Jews in the world that while there may be times and places where many of us are not serving the nation, I think there's a lot of sense of connection, of gratitude, of involvement with those who are. And I know very many members of our synagogue who support the Israel Defense Forces, who try to, send care packages to soldiers, lone soldiers who are serving there. When we went for our Temple Emmanuel trip, family trip just this year, our kids, we had 2 lone soldiers with us who were traveling with us. Our kids are in touch with them. They're connected with them.
So I would just say I get that, Michelle, and I agree with everything you say, and I would say it feels what you say is true and deeply unsatisfying at the same time. And so where I'm left with this is a resolution of an asymmetry that is. And by the way, there are a few kids who serve, American kids who go serve the IDF, and if that's what they want to do, God bless. First of all, it's very few and far between. I know, a few, very few. Like in the case of Michael Levin, it ends tragically. The kid dies, and that doesn't feel like a very satisfying option. It's certainly not a very common option. And so what you're left with is go to Israel, go explore, advocate for your political convictions, whatever they are. But I guess a granular formulation of this class is an unsatisfying response to this asymmetry all we got. And I think maybe the answer to that is yes. Anyone have anything more satisfying?
I agree with you. I disagree with Michelle, because I really think that for 90% of us, we intellectually understand the disconnect, and most of us don't do anything about it.
Right.
Yeah, and so
But
I think you're right. I mean, Wes is right. We have, look out the window. We
This beautiful day.
live in paradise, and even though our country has some problems, it's nothing like what Israelis live with on a daily basis.
Right.
But I want to speak back to what Elias was saying. We don't feel this in America as strongly in this moment. But you could imagine moments when we either have or would, again, feel what Elias, you spoke to so beautifully about. You knew that if Argentina became a place that was too much of a threat to your safety and your life, that you did have another place, and that's Israel. And that sounds quaint and old-fashioned, but I think it's real and it's eternal. And we happen to be in a period in America right now where our kids don't feel that day to day, but blink and it's possible that we
And you
could
have
be
your
in
own
that
experience. You
situation.
mentioned it before. Your sister, and moving to Israel and the kids growing
Right.
up there.
Elias, you found a song that is in dialogue with this song. I mean, the one of the lines here is "Here is my home, Kan hu beiti," and would you teach us the song which is in dialogue with this song?
Yes, so I apologize for everybody that I don't have the lyrics. I woke up this morning and I was thinking, of course, Can, that's a song. And I didn't have time to bring it or to show the video, but watch it later. So
After Shabbat.
after Shabbat, of course. So just to put in context, this song is from 1993. Israel every year has a festival within Israel. They select one song. The winner of that song goes and compete in a festival called Eurovision. All right? Israel has been doing that for 50 years. They won 4 times. And this one in 1993 was the winner of Israel. And then they went into Europe. They ended up third, which is not bad among 36 participants. And it's a very different song. And there are some parts of the song that actually are very similar to this one that we just heard, but the tone of the song and the happiness and the optimism of the song, the melody, I'm going to sing it, but rabbis, why don't you read a little bit about at least the first stanza?
Rabbi Michelle Robinson, would you read that, please?
Here's my home. Here I was born, on the plain which was by the shore. Here are the friends who I grew up with, and I have no other place in the world. I have no other place.
And Rabbi West, would you read the chorus?
Here is my home where I played.
No, the chorus.
Oh, here I was born. Here my children were born to me. Here I built my house with my own 2 hands. Yeah, right. Here you're also with me, and here are all of my 1,000 friends. After 2,000 years, my wanderings are over.
You see how different it is?
Yeah,
It's like I
it's
have no
beautiful.
other place, but I'm glad I'm here because after 2,000 years, I have finally a home. And the song a little bit goes like this. כאן ביתי פה אני נולדתי, במישור אשר על שפת הים. כאן החברים איתם גדלתי, ואין לי שום מקום אחר בעולם. אין לי שום מקום אחר בעולם. The chorus. כאן נולדתי, כאן נולדו לי ילדיי, כאן בריתי את ביתי בשתי ידם. קם גם אתה איתי בך כל אלף ידידיי, ואחרי שנים 2,000 סוף לי דודיי.
Yeah, so Elias, first of all, can I just say,
Shkoch.
I want to say thank you. I want to note the corrective that this really adds, and then I want to tell you a story that on the day that I die, I'll still be thinking about this story. The corrective is that for all the drama, the sadness, the pathos, the blood, sweat, and tears in that video, it feels like day to day, life in Israel isn't that way. I mean, yes, everybody serves in the army, and yes, the Miluim, but day to day, Israelis are not walking around imposed upon and fraught. They're actually happier than we are. And whether it's at the beach or at the supermarket or at the yeshiva, they're very happy. And their birth rate is way higher than ours, and their families are way healthier than ours, and they've got more purpose, and they're, high-tech Israel. On a day-to-day basis, the song that you hear in Israel is not all the drama and the sadness, albeit it was selected by Israel to be the 75th. But the song that you hear, from what I could tell, all the times that I've been there, is much more this upbeat song. Okay? So I think that's a really important corrective. But here's a story that I will never forget. I forget how many years ago it was. It was several summers, pre-pandemic. There was the story of the 3 teens who were abducted during the summer when we were at Hartman. And the whole nation was praying for them. We didn't know where they were, and the whole nation was praying for them. They're 3, 18, 20, 21-year-old type, and praying, but life goes on. And we were at a Hartman event, and it was at night. And in the course of the event, all these people start going up to Daniel Hartman, who's teaching, with their cell phone, taking their cell phone, and he sees it, and he fobs them off, and he fobs them off, and he fobs them off. And we finished the evening, and at the end of the lecture, he announces that the 3 young men have been found, and they've been found murdered. Okay? And I remember he asked Ed Feinstein, who's a rabbi in Encino, to do an El Malei Rachamim, and we all stood. We did an El Malei Rachamim. Okay. The next day, as is, Israeli practice, all three all three kids were buried. Right. So you have funeral, funeral, funeral. You have searing, searing, searing. You have thousands of people, thousands of people, thousands of people. Okay? The next day. That night, we're doing another program in Israel, and I hear what sounds like jazz. Such a discordant thing. Like on the day of the three funerals of young people, a national tragedy times three, jazz, and I explored what is that, and it turns out there was going to be a neighborhood jazz festival in Jerusalem, and it was jazz, and there were all these jazz musicians playing jazz and going on with life in the evening on the day when there had been these three funerals. And the moral of the story was that the second song that you taught goes hand in hand with the first song that we learned, right? The first song is, and the response to the first song is the second song, which also is. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So, dear colleagues, we are ending this year of Talmud, and I guess my question is, do you have a parting thought for how we can make sense and make meaning out of these two songs?
Yeah, I will begin. You have actually said many times that living a Jewish life is like walking a tightrope. And I think that living a Jewish life is like that, and living an Israeli Jewish life is even more so. Because as you said, the balance of dvash and oketz is there every moment.
That's honey and sting, yes.
Yeah, is there every moment, and we want I think for all of us we want the dvash. So maybe it's like the Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Ra, the idea that a little bit on leaning towards the good and the better and the more joyous is the way that we want to try to live our lives, and to connect with Israelis that way.
Michelle or Elias?
Yeah, I think that to me the key is that although our reality is very different from them, to continue talking about that, to continue exploring it, to continue, having our hearts with them. And I give you kudos to both of you because you do not hide from the reality of Israel. You talk about Israel in the classes, in the Talmud, in the sermons. You bring people here to talk. You owe me a few bucks after this, but I'm giving you compliments. And because there are unfortunately many synagogues that are giving the back to Israel, and they don't talk about Israel, which is horrible. So I give you my respects because you are wonderful in that aspect.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Michelle?
And I would end with the word Seul Mad, right? That's our task. Picking up on what you just said, Elias, we continue to engage. We continue to learn. We continue to grow. And I want to thank all of you for growing along with us this year. And I especially want to thank you for holding this
the
beautiful
maestro.
space for us
The
to
maestro.
connect and learn.
So let me just end by thanking you guys for a year of wonderful dialogue. Thanking Elisa as well. Elisa, if you're watching, thank you, and we're thinking about you. And Eder, Matan, and Solomon.
He's probably not thinking about us.
Yeah, I
but
would
anyway.
imagine. Imagine probably not. I want to thank all of you here and online for a year of learning. And I do want to end this class with a prayer. I think it is my single prayer as a rabbi. If I had one prayer, it really is go to Israel. That's my prayer. Go to Israel. If I had a single ask, go to Israel. Israel is just so important. It's so complicated. By the way, I'm never happier when I'm in Israel than when I'm at the airport on the way home for all that, right? I'm not a holy moly. Like when I'm in Israel and I'm going back home, I feel always relieved and then guilty that I feel relieved. And oh my God, like so much a welter of emotion. But for all that, like I'm going to Israel next Sunday night with Hartman. And there's just something about this. It's just so important. It's so complicated. It's so rich. It's so inspiring. Um, I will say that there is a degree of purposefulness about existence that goes with the heaviness of existence. Like it's heavy and also light and joyful, but also always purposeful. And I always feel, here's a question I'll leave with this. Uh, where do you get uplift? And whenever I go to Israel, I get uplift. I get inspiration. So thank you for this. And let's do this together in Israel. Shabbat Shalom.